Hi, this is Khalil Gulivala. Welcome to another episode of the BIPOC Manager Podcast. In today's episode, I'm really excited to have Joseph Zeppelli with here. Joseph is the king of popcorn, and I'm going to let him introduce yourself. Joseph, please.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. So King of Popcorn, that's a big statement. I didn't start out as the king. I probably started out as the Joker because everybody used to laugh at me when I quit my career. So to go back, we were four boys, four bad monkeys. That's actually where the name comes from. And now we're good monkeys and we make the best popcorn. But it didn't always start that way. When I grew up extremely poor, my mom raised us four boys. So my poor mom, I didn't even know we were poor, obviously until later on. But now we are in 5 countries. Our popcorn is sold in over 30,000 locations. We've done deals with Walmart, Costco, Disney, Marvel, MLB. We've done NBA, NHL. Um, every store you could think of, I'm most likely in, and we're dominating the space right now, not because our popcorn is the best. I think it's the best, but it's because of our innovation. And we'll go a little more into details later on, but that's kind of how we separated ourselves from our competitors. So King of Popcorn right now, King of Canada, and we're on our way to take over the US. We just partnered with a big player in the US, so Bad Monkey is coming to the USA. And we're also sold in other countries like the Philippines, Jamaica, and now Mexico. So it's honestly incredible run. It's now going to be in 2024 right now is 10 years that I've been in the business. Feels very fast, but we're dominating the space because we have a great team and a great product. But more than that, our innovation, which we're going to talk about later on, is the key to my success.
Amazing, Joseph. Yeah, I love to talk about innovation. Maybe before we talk innovation, I think one of the things I love talking to entrepreneurs about is sort of about their parents in the background. Now, you shared about your mom as well. If you talk a bit more about sort of your mom, your upbringing, and how her presence sort of shaped you to be the person you are today.
Yeah, you don't really realize how special your mom is until later on in life when you're a parent. And I'm a parent right now. I have 3 daughters, beautiful little girls, and now I realize, wow, how much work it actually is to put in with the kids. So for me, my mom is very special. I never understood why she wasn't around a lot, but it was because now I look back, she was working 2 jobs just to support us in this one bedroom. So I never felt poor because she always made sure we had food, clothes, TVs. We always had fun. The toys, Christmas, everything. We always had it. So I really never felt poor. She never made me feel poor. And she was always there for me. And another thing, even when I was deciding to quit my career, and my brother was deciding to quit his career. My older brother is a patent lawyer. He had a great job. I was in finance. I was making a lot of money, and we both quit our careers. Most people would say, "Hey, you're crazy." My mom was 100% on board. Was super happy for me, super supportive. Even in the early days, we were in the back of a Haitian church, a little 300 square feet facility, and she used to come help us bag these little Ziploc bags. So to look back now, my mom has always been there for me, and that's why when I was able to, I'm definitely going to be taking care of her more than I am already. But I'll make sure that she doesn't have to work so hard anymore.
That's just amazing, Joseph. I think you've hit it. The impact of our parents, especially where the sacrifices they made, the stuff that Danny said, it's also just kind of love where you don't feel the things that you miss because they're just surrounding you with love. That's amazing. And again, just this story. So you got this mom. She's raising you and your three other brothers. You have four brothers. Tough and tumble. Walk us the journey where you're kind of going from there to in these Haitian churches to popcorn. Like, what is that step where you go from this guy who's working in finance to Bad Monkey Popcorn?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of history in that. I had a lot of trouble as a child because I really didn't have any father, so there was no rules in our house. My mom was gone most of the day and the night, and we'd only see her late at night, and she'd make us something quick, but she'd have to go back to bed because she's waking up in the middle of the night to go to work. So we didn't really have any rules. And with four boys, that's a bad recipe. So I started hanging around with the wrong crowd. This was probably in my teenager years. And I ended up getting in trouble with the law. So a lot of people don't know this. When I was about 17, I had got caught with some friends and I ended up getting in serious trouble. And that kind of was the tipping point in my life where I had to either turn it around or go down the wrong path. And although we're four boys, we kind of are four lions where we kind of did our own thing. We were together at night, but during the day, as I said, we had no one telling us to come home. My mom was just too busy and too tired, honestly. She tried, and she was always there for my report card day, make sure I was in school. But after school, she really couldn't see where I was. It wasn't like there was cell phones back then, so it wasn't like they keep track of me. So we kind of just did our own thing, and that was not a good recipe for success. And that's how I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, older crowd, and started to get into stuff like drugs and violence and fights and just pushing the limit because there's nobody telling me where the limit is. So that's kind of where it kind of turned for me was when I was 18. I had a decision. The courts gave me a decision. Either you go this way or you go this way. And thankfully, I had a good older brother, and my brother was always there for me. But as I said, he didn't have a father. I didn't have a father. So we didn't really have anybody telling us what to do. So we were kind of just learning on the fly, learning on the go. And then when I was 18, my brother helped me get back on the right path. And that's kind of where I started to get into finance. My brother was good at school. He was applying to be a doctor at McGill. So that McGill is like the Harvard of Canada. And he ended up obviously getting in, but paying for the school was a lot harder. So we all had to pool our money together to help my brother at his school. And it was just that's kind of how it started. The brothers started getting closer was because at first we just tried to pay and help my brother get to be a doctor because we thought if he's a doctor and he's gonna be successful, we'll all be successful. But that wasn't the case. My brother was helping me in return, and it was just kind of a great brother synergy. And that's how we got so close was because we were just helping each other succeed and get to the next level.
Yeah, again, in what I'm hearing again and again, Joe, how much family is sort of the bedrock of who you are. When you don't have, I think, my mom, when we didn't have material things, we had family.
Yeah.
And family's there taking care of each other, and that never goes away. And I can imagine you say you've got these brothers, you've got your eldest brother who ends up becoming a patent lawyer, you've got a brother who's sort of cook, another brother I think he's into photography and video, and somehow you find this perfect venue for all your four lines, these four brothers to come together with popcorn, which you used to make as a kid. Tell me about how did you kind of have these separate paths to kind of come together around Bad Monkey Popcorn?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, personally, Fabio, my brother, my older brother, was going to be a doctor. So he graduated McGill. He got a stage to go to Israel. He had a couple places. He just chose Israel to be a paramedic. And then when he came back, I guess because of the blood and maybe there was violence, he just said it completely turned him off. So he decided to quit and go back to school for law, which at the time, my mom and us had just paid for his McGill all together as a family, and now he wants to go back. And this wasn't the idea. The idea was he was supposed to be a successful doctor and start helping out the family. And that actually didn't happen. And my mom could have easily said no. We could have fought, but we all supported his decision and we believed in him. And it actually turned out to be great. He ended up working for one of the largest companies called Bombardier as a patent and copyright lawyer, which ended up helping when we started our business. So everything ends up working out. For me, my path was a little different. I got an opportunity when I was 21 to work for a company called Wells Fargo in the United States. And we were refinancing mortgages, and I just started making a killing. So by 21, I was probably making over six figures, which didn't seem real. And my mom didn't believe me until I showed her the check. And it wasn't because I was just lucky. It was because I put myself in that position. And then when I got that position, I took advantage. When everybody went home, I would work till 10, 11 o'clock, come back early at 5, 6 in the morning. And I would always be, the first one in and the last one out. And I grew that business and I grew it to be one of the youngest managers in actually Wells Fargo. And I was very successful making six figures at 21, which was just incredible. And my other brothers were, one of them was a chef and one of them had a passion for photography. So because I was doing so well, I was able to get my brother the camera and I was able to get him the lessons. So this is kind of how we all helped each other out. And then even my brother, the chef, didn't really have much money. At the time, I was just so busy and I was making a lot of money. He became my chef. So mornings, lunch, and dinner, he used to cook for me and I used to pay. And if it was good, I'd give him a tip. And it was not because I couldn't buy my own food, but I wanted to support him, his dream, and he loved cooking. And if I could pay him, and he's a great chef to this day, I love his food. It just all, you see how we always just helped each other get to our path. So when the 2008 2009 market crashed in the US, it was the financial crisis. I was kind of out of a job and I had a lot of money saved up. A lot of money, I would say, is 200,000, which is a lot of money, but it's not enough to retire. And I asked my older brother at the time, he was a lawyer for Bombardier. I said, what can I do? What can we do? I have a little bit of money. Can we start a business? And funny enough, when he graduated law, I wrote on the back of his diploma, which he still has today, one day we're going to work together. So he said, well, why don't we just, quit our jobs? I didn't have a job, but he wanted to quit his job and let's open up our own franchise. And that's kind of where the idea started. So that's kind of the tipping point, was just him saying, hey, let's just start our own franchise. And him quitting his job was for me like, what are you talking about? You've worked all your life for this. And now, but he told me something. He said he's not happy. He's doing work for other people and building other people's businesses. And that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to build something for our last name. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And popcorn was our favorite snack as kids. And the name, my mom, when we were eating pasta, said, why don't you call it Bad Monkeys? Because you guys used to be little bad monkeys. And that's where and we drew this logo, by the way, this little mischievous monkey, because we used to be mischievous. So it all just started formulating. And then I started looking and I'm like, wait, we have a little brother who's a chef. Maybe he could do the recipes. And then we need some photos for the product. We have my little brother, my other little brother. So it was just so like, I was good with numbers. My brother was good with contracts. My other brother was a chef, and then my other brother was a photographer. It's like, wow, this has to be working together. So that's kind of how the idea bloomed.
Amazing. It's like what it sounds as if is that you've got these elements were always there, but he's looking for that perfect opportunity, kind of just to bring all your brothers together.
Yeah,
One of the things that I kind of have a sense about is that you've talked about sort of have like one of your like favorite quotes is about sort of you don't ask for permission, you rather just apologize afterwards. And
100%.
the kind of like that hunger, I can hear that rebellious spirit. How does that tie into innovation? Because I feel like those two things kind of go hand in hand, especially with the awards Bad Monkey has done. Can you talk more about the innovation, maybe how that and the spirit behind the innovation that you do?
Yeah, well, first off, the expression you said is my favorite because I used to ask for permission for everything. And actually, this goes back to the first year we were in business. And I learned this lesson the first year, thankfully, so that I applied it for the next 9. So we were just starting out. We didn't really know what to do. We really were just having an idea. We knew we were good at making popcorn. My brother made the best popcorn. But how do we get that to the consumers? So we're very lucky. We're from Montreal and part Toronto, but mostly in Montreal because my aunts and uncles live in Toronto. So my mom, when she didn't have time for us, she would send us to Toronto. But that's another story. So we were trying to figure out how do we get the customers to try the product. So I realized that Montreal, we're very lucky. There's a lot of festivals. There's a lot of events. So we said, what if we start just testing the product on clients, and then we can kind of see what products are selling, if we even have a good product. So we started signing up at Grand Prix. We started signing up at all these raves and parties. And then it was one of the biggest parties in all of Montreal. It's called Osheaga. Huge party with clubs and stuff like that, and concerts. And we convinced them somehow to be the popcorn for them. I don't know how we did that, but they did that our first year. And we were setting up our big booth. Now it was very hard to get to this place. We had to have a truck. We had machinery. We obviously had to make the popcorn. So it was a lot of heavy machinery, bags, boxes, everything. We had to set up the booth. And it just started raining that day. So now the dirt is all muddy and we can barely get through this mud. So we finally get there, and booth is about maybe half a kilometer away. I kind of see it, but it's really far away. We get stopped, and a security officer says to me, "Stop. Where are you guys going?" We're like, "Oh, we're going to set up our booth over there." He says, "No, you cannot. No trucks can go by it, this path here." I'm like, "Yeah, but how are we supposed to get to our booth?" He goes, "I don't know. Figure it out. Take your stuff and start unloading and walk to the space." So we're like, "We have to walk? Are you kidding me?" He said, "Yeah, sorry, no choice. Is that or you're not at the festival?" So we're like, "Oh my God, all right, let's just hurry up. The event is starting." So we walked half a kilometer with all these machineries. It took us an hour and a half. We were drenched before the event. It's a 3-day event. We were exhausted. We're closing up the truck. We're getting ready to go park the truck. All of a sudden, we see a bunch of trucks passing us, going to the booths. So now we're furious. We look at the security guard and we said, "What the hell?
Yeah.
You just told us to walk an hour now. We've been doing this, and now you're letting all the trucks go by." He goes, "Sorry, they didn't listen. They just drove by." So I was just like, why did I stop and ask for permission? I should have just went. And then when I was there, they couldn't do anything, just ask for forgiveness. So from that moment on, I promised myself I'm no longer asking permission. I'm going to do it. And if I'm in trouble, I'll just apologize. And then we'll deal with the consequences after. And funny enough, there's been a million events where that exact thing happened. And I didn't listen. We just went, set up the booth, gave them a bag of popcorn, and it was all good. So I learned this little lesson, and I kept that nugget where I'm not listening to anybody anymore. I'm going to my own tune, and I'm gonna be unapologetic.
Amazing. I mean, that's right. It's one thing to talk about that expression, another thing to live it.
Yeah.
And I imagine you there with like drenched, or like you learn it and you kind of kept that to heart. At the same time, I see all the innovation prizes that Bad Monkeys, doing up there. What's that process of innovation like? Like how do you how do you try? Because this is also popcorn. Like, how do you innovate within that sector? What's that philosophy behind
So
that?
the first thing is a lot of people are working in their business and not on their business. And what I mean by that is I was a micromanager. So I used to make sure I was in charge of the deliveries. I was in charge of the cooking. I was in charge of the quality. I was in charge of the accounting. I was in charge of the sales. And then what I ended up doing was I was just babysitting people, and I'm trying to catch my employees up to something. And that's not how you innovate. And that's not how you get your business ahead. Because if your head is in the sand, you
Mm,
can't look up and see on the horizon what's coming. So for us, I made sure once we in 2020 partnered with a venture capital fund, and the reason I did this was not because I was desperate, was because I needed to grow faster and faster. And it was just way too much on my shoulders. And as I mentioned, I was dealing with shareholders, I was dealing with investors, I was dealing with the banks, I was dealing with the sales reps. It was too much, and I wasn't able to innovate on the product. I was just trying to pump out the same product. And if you're continuously not evolving, you're going to be run over. And that's kind of where the whole tipping point started. Was I started putting key players in positions so that I don't have to worry about sales. I don't have to worry about distribution, so that I can actually take a seat back and I could say, okay, now I could see on the horizon, my head is not in the sand. And now we could start looking at innovation, product development, partnerships. And that's where Disney started coming. That's where all my partnerships with the sports, NHL, all my big deals with, let's say, Walmart, Costco, innovation started coming, was because my mind was clear from all the junk. So that's kind of the starting point. The little flame is innovating. But where we came up with the idea was the best popcorn we all know is at the movie theaters. It's hot, full of butter. How can you get that at your home? I guess the closest would be microwave popcorn, but microwave popcorn is terrible for you. It has palm oil, there's plastics. It's been played out for what, 20 years. Nobody's innovated in the space, and it takes 3 minutes. It's not like you can eat the popcorn if you don't have a microwave. So we said to ourselves, there has to be a better way. Now we started seeing the sustainable kind of wave coming. So we said we got to get on this compostable bag. We got to start figuring out how our bag can get out of plastic, because our bag, all the bags to this day, are plastic. So we said, how can we make sure that the bag is not plastic? So we started with looking at compostability. But then we started saying, let's look at our resources. We have a venture capital fund behind us. Let's talk to them and see who they might know. So they ended up introducing us to our current CEO, who's 65 years old. And think about this. We're a young, dynamic company. I'm in my 30s and I'm now CEO. I took a step back and I listened and I said, you know what? These people have experience. Let's bring in somebody who has experience. Most people don't want to even hire anybody above 50. We brought someone in 65 and up. So we brought him in and he really helped us find the right partner who owned some packaging that ended up showing us that it's compostable and the packaging is heatable. But he was using this for hot dogs. So the packaging was originally for hot dogs. We took this packaging, we said, let me just try R&D. So about a year goes by, we're trying different packaging, different molecules, different measurements, and we ended up finding the perfect packaging that not only is compostable, but the bag is heatable. What does that mean? So the bag here, this packaging here can be placed on the barbecue, in the oven, or even in the microwave, and it's made of wood fibers. So it won't burn your hands. It just heats up the product inside. So I have daughters, I have kids. We always wanted to make sure it's kid friendly. You could take this, put it on the barbecue, give it to your kid, and the kid won't burn their hands. Only the popcorn inside heats up. So it was incredible. We freaked out once it started coming to. And then we realized you can also eat the popcorn as is, but if you really want a 10x in terms of flavor, you can heat it up. So that's kind of been the game changer for us, was finding the right CEO, was finding the time to look at your product, because before I didn't have any time. I was delivering, I was cooking. So give yourself that time, find the right people and put them in the right place. And that's what happened.
Thank you so much for that masterclass, Joseph. I mean, that's why people forget, like you said, like not just working in the business, but on the business.
Yep.
And you see, and again, the fruits of the results of that are these innovation prizes, are a product that started off. And again, I think of that imagery of a Haitian church, but now across, Disney, across the world, across countries, it was quite a journey.
You knew how I knew we were going to be successful. You know when?
And
In 2015, when we just started the company. You know how? I already knew we were going to be successful. When at 3 in the morning, I drove to go visit my brother at behind the Haitian church, this little 300 square foot room. We had one popcorn machine. And I walk in the room and I hear like hip hop music and I like felt like a rave. I was like, what's going on in my little 300 square foot office? I open it up. My brother, who's a successful lawyer, is wearing a little like white tank top, sweating with a bandana because he's so much sweat, and he's cooking popcorn at 3 in the morning. He's got a Red Bull, drinking a Red Bull with music, dancing, having fun at 3 in the morning behind a Haitian church in the worst area of Montreal. I said to myself, I walk in and I already knew in my head, we're going to be successful, because if my brother, who was a successful lawyer, is willing to be working in the back of a Haitian church, popping popcorn at 3 in the morning, that's dedication. That's passion. And I knew we had something, because it was just, you don't see that very often. Most people don't want to take their tie off or get out of their BMW. We were willing to sell everything, even the shirt off our back, which we came up with a budget of 50K to invest. That passed in within 2 weeks. We surpassed that budget. And I had to put my only thing that I had in possession, which was my condo, up for collateral, because the bank didn't believe us. The bank laughed. TD Bank, I don't want to throw them under the bridge because I do like them now because they're with us now. But before, they didn't believe in us. The TD Bank, which is a bank here in Canada, laughed at me, laughed at my projections. And when that ended up happening, a year and a half later, I ended up getting a check for $1.3 million. And I really wanted to rub it in his face. We didn't. We just ended up switching banks. But it just goes to show you that we really believed in ourselves. And I knew we had a success once I saw my brother happy, dancing, popping popcorn at 3 in the morning. That was for me something that I'll always remember.
amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I had that, as you're saying that, I had that scene from Pretty Woman playing. She goes up and goes, remember me, big mistake.
Yeah, big mistake.
Yeah, but before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to mention? Anything you want to highlight?
Yeah, other entrepreneurs, a lot of them don't have anybody to mentor them or anybody to just get advice to. Any of your viewers, feel free to reach out to me. My preferred method is LinkedIn. Joseph Zeppilli, add me on LinkedIn. And I won't do any charging. It's all free. We really just want to help young entrepreneurs. So if you guys are starting a business or you're thinking about starting a business and you're nervous and you have some questions, I'm here to answer any of those. So that's, I just want to let your viewers know, because I didn't have that mentor. I didn't really have anybody, and I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning all of these mistakes. So if I can pay it forward, that's what I'd love to do.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely include your LinkedIn in the show notes. Joseph, thank you so much for being a guest today and just sharing this amazing story, with your mom, with your family, and where you are right now. And what I love is that you're all going there together,
Yep.
and that's just amazing. Amazing life that you got going on.
Yeah. So now what's coming up next is, again, our partnership with Disney. So we're doing a bunch of Disney movies with our bags, and we closing on a deal now with the NBA and the NHL. So you'll see us soon in the big leagues. So that's exciting. And it's all because of our innovation and because I was able to step back and work on the business and not in the business.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest today, Joseph.
Thank you so much.